I can tell you what I think
Moving
about people's
along.
opinions, but this is a kid-friendly show.
Are we are?
So we saw Joker.
Oh my gosh. And that about sums it up.
Moving on to the next topic. Whew. You go first.
Yeah, it was art. From the moment it started with the Warner Brothers logo that was from the 70s, it had that feel, and I looked over at him and I was like, oh wow. And the way it was shot, that grimy feel of the 70s, and just that feel of just we're in a period piece. And that's when it just sucked me right in. It was just like, oh my gosh, this is real.
It felt very much like a 70s Jack Nicholson movie. It felt One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Chinatown.
That is so crazy you just said that. I told a guy at work today, I was like, Joaquin Phoenix was just amazing in it. I said, but this was so real, it was almost to the point of being better than One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I mean,
It wasn't a comic book movie. It wasn't a
Not at all.
superhero movie. They could have changed the names. They could have changed the name of the city. They could have never said Gotham, Wayne, Joker, and it would not change the impact of the story at all.
it was about a mentally ill
It's about
person.
mental illness. Maybe part of it, setting it in something where you feel like it's the 70s, I think that speaks to is like in the past, not necessarily saying like right now we're great, but certainly saying in the past, whether you want to say 30 years ago or right now, yesterday, we have failed the mentally ill. It's failed to take care of people that need taking care of. These are the consequences of not taking care of people, of being selfish, of being self-righteous, of not caring about the individual lives of people less fortunate than you. What do you do with it from here?
And now take all of that, and all of a sudden you realize you're in the DC universe and you're in Gotham. It's powerful. And the first words out of my mouth when it ended was, that was disturbing art. And I, for one, am not just gonna go sit in front of the disturbing stuff all the time. So I might be good for one more viewing of this. Maybe if it hits Netflix or we rent it or whatever. The moment I got home, I was telling his sister about it, that, oh yeah, I'm sure I'll own it. The next morning I woke up and thought, don't know that I want to. It's not a feel-good movie, but it has its place because it was so intense and so powerful and so believable.
For me, as a purist, everything about this movie on paper, when I heard about it, made me mad and told me I would not like the movie. Don't give the Joker an origin story. Don't give him a real name. Don't show us how he became the Joker. Nobody cares. What's interesting about the character is that it doesn't matter where he came from. It matters that he doesn't even work well on his own. He works when he is in opposition to Batman. Everything about this movie, I should have hated it, and I didn't, because it just worked. On every level that the movie should have made me mad, it didn't. It worked to me because my favorite part of the character is that he describes his background as multiple choice. Sometimes I remember it one way, sometimes I remember it another. And again, without spoiling anything about the movie, I still feel like this movie left me with multiple choice. The character has so much more value as just some random nobody who loves to cause chaos than as, you know, a gangster who fell in a vat of acid and lost his mind. But that's one possible backstory. In this movie, it just made it work. I want this movie to be the way superhero movies are made moving forward. We've had the Marvel Universe, which it works because it's a cohesive story over more than a decade, over more than 20 movies, each building on the story of the last, growing the characters over that course of time. I mean, that's something that movies have not done on the scale that Marvel did it, and it's incredible the way they did. DC never needed to try to replicate that. The difference, I've always described Marvel and DC, Marvel is your popcorn summer blockbuster that's got characters you really love and you're invested in their personal lives, but the stakes are so ridiculous. There's a separation of the fourth wall where you're like, yeah, this is a big movie that's never gonna happen. You know, there's never going to be Thanos is gonna snap his fingers and half the universe disappears. But because of how invested you are in the characters, when it happens, it matters to you because you're invested in the character journey you've gone on with this big, colorful, flashy superhero blockbuster. DC for me has always been, the stakes are small, but the story that's being told is bigger than the stakes. The stakes at the end of The Dark Knight, the Joker's gonna blow up 2 boats. A couple hundred people will die. And it is so vitally important that it doesn't happen, because while those lives matter, it's not that the whole world is going to end. There's not a giant sky beam that the superheroes have to fly in and stop. If the Joker gets those boats to blow up, if they blow each other up, he has proved that he's right. Give me small, intimate stories that say something bigger about the world at large.
We didn't mean to get so heavy, but that's what Joker is. It's heavy. It's worth seeing if if you're okay with going to something and going in knowing it's heavy and it's intense and it can be disturbing.
I woke up the next day thinking about it, and I texted him and was like, is the movie under your skin because it's under mine? And he said, yeah. And that's what it does, is it gets under your skin in a personal way, because it shows you things and makes you think about things that are uncomfortable to see and uncomfortable to think about, but they're real. If you're going to make a movie about the Joker, it should get under people's skin.
Yeah.
And it did.
Yeah.